Today, I'm going to talk about kind of a hard subject, grief, and holding on to loved ones who have passed and how that impacts you and their spirit. So, if you would like to hear a little bit more, stay tuned and be kind to yourself during this episode. Welcome to the Soul Alignment Mentor Podcast. I'm your host, Angie, and I'm inviting you to explore the depths of self-sabotage, limiting mindsets, and the beliefs that hinder our progress in life. Through intuitive messages I receive from my spirit team, I share profound insights to help you live authentically and break free from these limitations. Join me now as we uncover all the keys to living your best life. Welcome back. My name's Angie, and I am your Soul Alignment Mentor, bringing you intuitive messages from Spirit to help you align with your most authentic and highest self. So I have this thought going through my head because of when I am doing readings for people, or when I'm doing healing sessions, or I'm meeting with my clients on a regular basis, weekly, when we're working through things that are keeping them stuck and not in alignment with their highest self, with their soul, with the spirit in which they embody in them, I tend to get a lot of people around me that are either going through grief, or they're struggling to understand how to love themselves and how to love others. And just within the last couple weeks, this has come up for me where I have this it's an interesting thing to be able to look into other people's lives and to see what is going on energetically for them and why they might feel a certain way versus what the outward appearance in their life they are looking at and seeing, and how they're reflecting as a mirror outward back to themselves things that they might not like about themselves, or they might be holding on to, or may not know how to work through on their own. And so one of the things that recently came up was this idea of holding on to pain and grief as a way of honoring people. And it is such an interesting thing that we humans do in our ego, where we think that the more pain we feel, the more grief we feel, the more bad we feel in our ego, the more we are honoring and we're holding on to people that we love in our lives. And this is really mostly directed towards someone we may have had that has passed on and is no longer living a human life. Those of us that have dealt with a significant death in our life, whether that's a parent, friend, child, whatever that might be, someone that made an impact or was a close relationship for you in this lifetime, there is this urge in the ego or a programming that humans have created that make us feel as if we're not holding on to that person and the pain that we feel when they transitioned into spirit, when they left their human life, that we're not honoring them, and we're not still loving and holding on to the memory of who they are. And as I am sharing this, there's a tradition that started many years ago in my own family that I have kind of thought was always interesting in my own way. Since I've always been a little different when it comes to spiritual things my entire life, I didn't really understand that until the last several years when I started working more with spirit and having connection with spirits and communicating with them and understanding that in the spirit realm, they're not thinking about the sadness or being in low vibration energy feelings like we might on as a human. They're literally just being present within themselves. And in that place, there is not any pain or judgment or anger or frustration. There might be a noticing of emotions in the spirit realm, but they are not like we have them as a human. They're not judgmental. They're not don't cause shame within the spirit. And so when a spirit transitions into when they leave their body, when they pass from this human life back into the spirit realm, they will go through a process of self-judgment, or maybe kind of looking back at the recent human life they just had and taking parts of it that help them grow and to understand the energy of love more. And what is really interesting about this is the spirits I have had contact with and communicated with, plus the many people I have heard talk about their near-death experiences and how it was for them when they passed and then maybe came back. Every single one of them, and even in my own experiences through meditations and connecting with spirit, there is this feeling of bliss and love, even towards the parts of ourselves and the parts of others that are not necessarily positive that we would see in our ego. And as the spirit goes through this self-judgment, kind of, and judgment is not a human judgment. Like, we think of judgment as like, you deserve this. And so therefore we're judging whether you are worthy or not. The judgment that happens, or the life review really that happens in the spirit realm, is simply a growing and an experience of learning. And it doesn't pull in the emotions of shame or not being good enough or regret or any of those emotions. That is only here with our human ego experience. So as the spirits go through their life review and they start to feel the emotions that they felt throughout their life, they will go through many of the experiences. Some people say that, or those who have passed and went through this and came back, say that there is a process of going through kind of significant things that happened in their lives, or maybe even things that they did not think they were significant, but then went back in the spirit and was like, oh, wow, that was significant. The most recent one I heard, which was, I wish I could remember her name because I really liked her interview that I listened to, but she mentioned that one of the first things that she reviewed about her life was being a very small child, maybe around 4, and for the first time purposely choosing to be mean to another child, like a friend of hers, and how she went back to that moment and she felt what it felt like for her in that moment, plus the friend that she was being mean to. Purposely, she felt how they felt. And the way that she picked up that energy from that other human was a confusion of like, why are they being mean to me? Like, why, like, I didn't do anything. What is going on? And so the spirit, because we are all one energy within the universe, we all feel each other's emotions. We all feel each other's energy, whether we are conscious of it not here on earth. We are picking up subtle things around us all the time. And it can cause some, confusion in our own emotions and energy, why we're human, because we might think the anxiety that we're feeling is our own anxiety, when really we might be picking it up from somebody else that we are in contact with or we're in a close relationship with. And so being able to understand our emotions and our energy will help us to separate our, in this 3D world, at least, separate our emotions from others' emotions and feelings. But in the spirit realm, there is no separation. Everything is one. However, all the oneness is pureness, is love. There's not really in a human way to express or share the emotion and feeling of the experience of being in your full self and your spirit self and in one unison with the entire universe. So the spirit, as they're going through this process, this self-judgment, this life review, basically, they're growing and expanding in their understanding of what love is. Now, come back to this human life. And those of us that have lost this person, this spirit that is going through this process as they're on the other side in the spiritual realm in a different dimension, really, we have been taught and we have a tendency to really hold on tightly to the feeling of pain and grief and sadness, because we, in some odd way, think that the more we feel that pain, the more we are holding the memory of that human, of that person that was here, and honoring them in some way. And this is why you will see people going to grave sites all the time and giving flowers to, where their loved one is buried. This is why you will see people kind of like doing memorial things around people's death. And so there's this like need to keep the memory alive of the human part of that spirit that was in the human ego's life. And so this weird belief of, if the more I'm sad about this, the more I'm honoring that person that spirit was. And in some way, what is really kind of confusing and hard for us is that we really do think it's true. And so there is this need as a human to have these emotions, because the emotions are actually a part of our soul evolution and our growth and understanding what love is. And by having the feeling of grief, having the feeling of separation, having the feeling of pain, having these emotions, regrets, all that stuff, those are the exact things that we chose to come and have here on earth in order to grow, because we don't grow unless we're uncomfortable. But there is a tendency to want to stay in the uncomfortableness instead of grow from it and move away from it, because we latch on and our ego has been programmed in some way to hold on to these emotions thinking they're doing something positive, whether that's holding on to the human that passed or making us feel as if we're good enough or we're being a loving human in some way. So the tradition I was going to share about what has been passed down through my family is and I'm not sure where this started, but my mom often brings it up to me around Memorial Day or around the anniversary of different things of deaths. And there was a tradition of, you always go and put flowers on a grave around Memorial Day. You always do this. You always have to go and honor, and it's like a required thing to do. And I see benefit in that. But the way that it is taught, anyways, through my comprehension and understanding, is that we're not holding on and honoring that person that had passed unless we do it. And this is where it gets really hard and confusing, because those emotions, those feelings, those actions, those things that we do in honoring someone that has passed is for us, not them. And we think that we're doing it for them. But really, it's us holding on to something that makes us feel worthy and like we're honoring and we're doing something right for that person, even if we didn't have a good relationship with them. Even in those things, like I know that there are people that when somebody passes, they will start to be like, oh, they'll want to look at all the good things instead of like how maybe they hurt them. And I hear this from my clients all the time, especially those who have lost a parent. Such as myself. I went through this process as well, where in the last 3 years of my dad's life, when he was fighting cancer, my relationship with him was amazing compared to the rest of my life. But up until around age 36, 37, when he was diagnosed with cancer, for my age, I was around 37. I did not have a relationship with him. And so those last 3 years were great and wonderful and healing. And, I told a client this yesterday, like for the first time in my life, I felt like I had a dad. Like I felt like that I was accepted and seen and loved. But that was only 3 years of his human life. The rest of my life, I did not feel like that. And so what I tend to do was to try to create this picture of like everything's fine. And then I gaslight my own emotions, my own feelings, my own needs of needing to heal those things that he had caused me in order to honor him and make sure I am being a good person. And so what happened for me is when my dad passed and I started having contact with him again through spirit, when he started to visit me, he shared with me that I needed to acknowledge and heal what he had caused me, the pain he had caused me while he was still a human. And that I wasn't going to hurt him or cause him any grief or sadness by me working through that. That was me holding on to it. And I was the one that had to release that. But here's where it got really interesting in what he said to me. And I have heard this confirmed by those who have had near-death experiences as well. And by communicating even with spirits that might have not moved on into a higher dimension or a light that might be feeling a little stuck here on this lower dimensional energy field. The spirit of your loved one actually does not want you to feel these negative emotions. So they're going to attempt to help you in some way to rid yourself of them and move you towards living a life full of joy and peace instead of holding on to pain. And the way that my dad explained it to me in spirit was when I release that pain, when I heal that pain, I actually help him advance and grow and raise a frequency within his spirit. The other thing I've heard is the spirit will feel somewhat obligated to stay near the human in order to make sure they're okay if they're having a really hard time letting go and they're not living their life. And so that feeling that we have where we have to hold on to grief and pain to feel as if we are honoring a human life actually is hindering not just us, but the spirit from moving into a higher dimension and being able to be free from these lower frequencies. So it actually honors our loved ones more when we start to love our lives, live our lives, and move towards what we enjoy, letting go of some of that pain that loss caused us. Grief is something that a human will always feel. It's been almost close to 4 years since I've lost my dad. And there are still moments of grief that come up for me where I will cry or I will feel upset. But there's also this deep peace that I have that he's not really dead. He's not gone. He's only in a different dimension, and I can still have contact with him. I can still have his presence with me, but I just don't have that physical connection with him. And so when I teach clients how to release some of this shame and guilt and pain and things in their life, I try to teach them that you're not actually separating yourself from a loved one or something that you desire. You're actually opening up the energy where it can become more, because that lower energy that you hold on to, the emotions, the low frequency beliefs and grief and pain and all those things actually keep you more separate because your vibration is lowered through those emotions. And we are the only ones that keep ourselves from communicating with spirits. So if you are wanting to have communication with a loved one on the other side, if you're wanting to raise your vibration, if you're wanting to communicate with spirit guides, if you're wanting to open up your energy field, the way you do that is you work on the lower dimensional energies of and emotions of grief, pain, anger, bitterness, guilt, all these things, and you move away from them as much as you can. There will be layers and layers and layers. As long as you're a human, they will be there to work through. We don't ever have to worry about having something as a human to work on. We will always have something to work on. However, it becomes less and less and less of a obstacle in our lives or a chain that keeps us stuck as we keep releasing and releasing these things, because it raises our vibration, it opens our energy field, our aura expands and clears out, our chakras clear out. And that actually allows us to raise the vibration in order to connect with other dimensions more easily. And so as we are shifting even into New Earth, those of us that have awakened or and are meant to be moving into a higher dimension, we're not going to be able to take these emotions and feelings and lower energies with us into the other dimensions because they do not belong there. So this is why it can feel really hard to be torn between living a 3D life and a 5D life, where you're like, I am not where I want to be, but I'm also not where I used to be. And I'm not, there can be confusion because the ego has these beliefs. I need to hold on to these emotions because they're serving me in some way. And your spirit is saying, no, you don't need that. Those are not how you honor. You honor through love. And so the ego has a really skewed idea of what love is and what honoring and compassion and empathy and all those things. It has a idea that those things come through the low vibration feelings. And when really, when you move into the spirit, those things are through abundance and love and feeling good, having joy, feeling as if you have purpose in this life. All those things actually raise your vibration and help you to expand and open yourself back up into your most authentic and highest self. We keep ourselves small and we keep ourselves from growing and expanding and being who we're meant to be because sometimes we are holding on to the things that we have been taught in the ego that are love, that are honoring things or people in our lives through holding on to pain. But the pain is only keeping us separate. It does not actually help anything else outside of us. It is our chain to our ego, and it's what keeps our vibration from raising. So if you are struggling with this, and I do understand this is a process to work through, and you do have to allow yourself to feel the emotions and go into them and acknowledge them and name them to release them. You can't just think, I'm not going to feel this anymore. It's going to be gone. That is not possible for the ego to do. That is not why we're here as a human. We're here to work through it. So if you're having a hard time working through it and you need support, please reach out to me. I have options where you can do intuitive guidance sessions with me, intuitive counseling, consulting, or you can set up a reading. I do mediumship readings as well. If you have lost a loved one and you would like to communicate with them in some kind of way, all that is possible. But also I want you to know that if you are going to a medium and wanting to have contact with a loved one, your energy does have to be open as well to receive the message from them. So those are a lot of things to keep in mind. That's a bit of a heavy topic for some people because it can be triggering for the ego to hear that these emotions and feelings are not honoring our loved one. But the truth is your loved one on the other side wants more than anything for you to be happy, to enjoy your life, to move forward. Most of them are even trying to push you towards something that will give you joy and kind of guide you towards maybe a life purpose, or trying to give you signs that they're still there. We're still here. We're still with you. But it doesn't mean you have to sit and grieve our absence, because that is not honoring them and it's not honoring yourself. So I hope this was helpful, and hopefully it was somewhat clear for you. It's a hard topic to really talk about sometimes, because these are such deep emotions for us humans. But as we continue to raise in our vibration on the earth, as we continue to heal the ego and work through some of these emotions and feelings that we hold on to, things will start to feel a little bit easier. It might not be super quick process, as the earth is really trying to purge and go through some things, and there's going to be a lot of pain and grief happening anyways right now with the earth. But all of that is for the purpose of expansion and growing and healing. And like I said, we do not grow and heal unless we're uncomfortable. And so allow that uncomfortable feeling to be what propels you towards your highest self, towards healing and alignment with your soul. So until I meet you again, I wish you the best day, night, evening, whatever time it is for you. I send you all the universal love. Namaste.